Keep up to date with everything this year on Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube, and WordPress.
Hello and welcome to Diary of a Mercedes Fan Extra. This is the Bahrain Grand Prix preview. I've decided to do it on SoundCloud this time instead of doing it on WordPress. I am joined by my good friend Alessandro.
Hello everyone.
For those of you who don't know, Alessandro is a Ferrari fan, and that is very good for this preview because more than likely over the weekend it's going to be a battle between Mercedes and Ferrari. And unfortunately, last time around in Australia, Ferrari might not have got their strategy right. Do you think that they'll learn from this time, and it might be more of a closer battle in Bahrain?
Well, we hope so. I think there definitely some mistakes were made in Australia, and hopefully lessons will have been learned. But it was also to do with the red flag played a part in causing confusion and unnecessary headaches, maybe for some personnel when things were going so smoothly. But no, the most disappointing thing is the retirement of Kimi. I think that's totally unacceptable, and I think they should be more concerned about that than the overall competitiveness of the car and the strategy decisions, because anybody can make a mistake at any time.
Remember now, but do remind me, was that an engine-related issue?
I believe it was an engine-related issue.
Because over the pre-season testing, Ferrari's engines have had issues on Toro Rosso and the Ferrari, and they've broken down. I do remember listening to Ted Kravitz and stuff saying that, they were saying that simply that's what pre-season testing is for, and that stuff. But that's very interesting, because then that spells of a bigger problem of unreliability with the Ferrari engine itself.
They have, they were meant to have made significant upgrades, having spent more tokens than anyone else. So I mean, I don't know the full details of exactly what they've done, but it's not encouraging, but it might not be too much of a concern. I think if it might be something to do with the driver as well. It's possible that he was running a different setting or in a different phase for the engine. But having said that, to be honest, it was the first race, so there really shouldn't be any problems. But if both cars had suffered problems, or if we had heard of Vettel complaining as well of potential problems for the remainder of the race, then it would have been a serious concern. As it is, it might just be one of those things, a simple component that is not really critical at all, and it might just be a simple fix, and hopefully that's just the case.
And moving ahead to this weekend, we're in Bahrain, which has been a good track for both teams over the years. More so this last 2 years has been for Mercedes. 2014, 9th and 10th for you guys, but you were a lot more closer to us than last year. The gap, I think the rain on the weekend of Australia didn't really help the whole Grand Prix and that weekend in a sense, because it meant that the dry running was done in FP3. No one really got through their programs. So going into this weekend, there's going to be obviously probably guaranteed dry running all the way through the park down to qualifying. Would you think the gap would be bigger, or do you think that it's going to be close?
I really don't know what to expect, to be honest. I would hope we were pretty close last year in the race, at least, and definitely made a huge step compared to the previous year. So such a step will not be possible again. My thoughts is that we'll be as close as we were last year, and hopefully not taking a step backwards.
And another issue as well is the qualifying has stayed in place for this Grand Prix as well. So it's the same qualifying as Australia. And your opinions on that? Because remember last time we were talking about them possibly going back to the old one, but the people that decided that they run the sport, they have decided that they're not going to do that and stick with this. Do you think that this time around it can maybe excite to do something different, or do you think it's going to be a little bit more of the dull same thing that it was in Australia?
Well, because Australia was the first race of the season, there's always that possibility that what happened there was a one-off and that no two sessions are the same. And so there's a chance that that by trying this again, we could in fact have the complete opposite to what happened in Australia, and that everything might go to plan, and how the people who decided would have thought that it would have gone on paper when they suggested the idea in the first place. So in that respect, giving it a second chance is worth a try if there's no other alternative. However, if the same thing happens again, then really they have to get the message loud and clear that this isn't working and something has to be done. It would be, I mean, there was nothing really wrong with the way qualifying used to be, I maintain, but I totally understand if they don't want to resort to how it was, because that may seem like a step backwards.
And going into this weekend from a Ferrari's perspective as well, what do you see as your rivals for this weekend? Are you looking forward, or are you looking back, or are you looking forward and back as well to Williams, Red Bull, or are you considering that the fight is just with Mercedes?
Well, no, I'm very much looking forwards and back, to be honest, because Red Bull did pretty well in Australia, and I think it was they made a big step compared to where they were last year as well. And I don't think we saw Williams' full potential in Australia as well, so we have to keep an eye on them. But I would always rather look forward than back, to be honest. But you got to maintain try and maintain the position we have currently, and at least try and go forwards and try and not go backwards, basically.
And if I was going to ask you on a prediction, not just because this is Mercedes' podcast, but your prediction for the weekend, top 5?
Oh, top 5. Well, it's hard to pick a winner. It would have to be one of the Mercedes, but I couldn't tell you which one. But they'll be both on the podium for sure, and hopefully the Ferrari will be on the podium somewhere. Again, I wouldn't like to say where. As for the other two, it's got to be, there could be the other Ferrari, or at least one Red Bull and one Williams in the mix as well. So any two of those three to fill the rest of the top 5, or probably the top 6, to be honest. Probably Ricciardo and I wouldn't even like to pick the Williams, to be honest. This is very very impartial. It could be either one. I wouldn't like to guess, as is my honest answer.
And on the looking outside in, from your view, could you envisage that there will be another 2014-like battle this weekend with Rosberg and Hamilton?
There could well be. I mean, with Rosberg winning the first race, it's really ideal for the championship, because we become accustomed to seeing Hamilton leading over the last a year or two or so, especially last year. And so to have Rosberg in front, it always seems, in my opinion, that it will be more interesting that way, because you always expect Hamilton to come back. But for Rosberg to actually have the points on the board shows you that he means business. It'll be interesting to see.
And your dark horses for this weekend, not Mercedes, not more Ferrari, but a team which you think could surprise this weekend.
Right. Perez has gone well in Bahrain in the recent past. And you never know what those Toro Rossos are going to do. So for me, it's sort of between those guys. And expect McLaren to get their first points earlier than they did last year, I would say.
And I know I just asked you top 5 before, but I'm going to really tug at you again and ask for a winner between Rosberg and Hamilton if it comes to that they're fighting for the win.
You're pushing me then.
I am.
I've got to say Hamilton then.
You going Hamilton?
I'm going to say Hamilton.
That's very interesting. Well, we will see what happens over the weekend. First practice gets underway tomorrow. Coverage will be on SoundCloud as well, along with FP2, FP3, and qualifying will be covered as well on Saturday. And then we'll be back on Diary of a Mercedes Fan on Tuesday on YouTube, and also with Diary of a Mercedes Fan Extra, talking about all the different talking points in Formula 1 as well. My thanks to Alessandro for this preview, Bahrain Grand Prix preview. It's the second Grand Prix weekend of the year, and hopefully we can have a very good Grand Prix under the lights.
Keep up to date with everything this year on Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube and WordPress.